So I was having a conversation with my assistant the other day. She's fresh out of school, and I was like, as a consumer, what would you like to see more of from like education in the industry? And she made a really good point. She was like, I feel like all the education out there is, this is what I did to make 6 figures. This is how I built a successful career. But like a lot of people don't share what didn't work.
Yeah.
And that's actually a really good point. And I feel like we've jumped into what didn't work mindset wise, but like technical, like what didn't work? What are the things that we've done that was like a flop? So lots of things.
Fall off fails.
Fall off, fail. What have you done in your business that you're like, ooh,
should have done that?
yeah, technical wise, not mindset.
One of the things was before I even started, and it was the fact that I waited so long to start. Not to say that I have regrets about it, but I remember I had talked to you about the idea of doing it for like, my God, a year and a half maybe. And I had talked to my boss about it and had this whole conversation, and like she was possibly going to pay for the course, and then I just kept waiting, and then it wasn't happening, and then you were like, Sierra, just pay for it. And I was like, oh, but I had this conversation. And I failed myself because who knows where I would have been if I started a year and a half before that.
I think it's good though that you said I don't have regrets.
Every failure as a lesson.
100%.
And I think that in a way that I failed in my business was being so scared to make decisions and pivot and do things that I just stayed stagnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I viewed a failure as a failure.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
So first thing that comes to my mind, and I feel like it's like a mindset and technical at the same time, is
I feel like it's all the same.
It is, yeah. I think your mindset leads you to make
the technical choices. Yeah.
So I think for me, I still do this because I don't have the confidence in myself, or I see someone else doing something. I'm super quick in investing in education that maybe doesn't align with what I actually want in my business.
That's interesting. We have the opposite.
I'll see someone doing something, and then I'm like, I invest in education, and then I'm literally like, I do this. I'm doing all of this in my business. Like, why did I feel like I wasn't
good enough?
Yeah.
Or did you feel like you didn't know enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I even had, it was cool with a previous assistant. We went to a color class together that I was like, I have to learn. And she's literally like in the class, and she's, you do all of this. Like, this is what you're doing right now. So I feel like for me, like not believing in myself, and then something I really like preach is like, instead of finding what education is wrong, find someone who you align with, and not just within their business, but even like their personal life, the way that they are, the way that they show up, and attach yourself to that rather than attaching yourself to like right versus wrong, because everyone does business different. There's not always a right or wrong way to do business. It's like what works for you. And that's when I've seen the most success. Like when I hired my coach, I like not only looked up to what she did in her business, but I looked up to who she was as a person, how she showed up, her beliefs. Like when I was able to connect better with that.
When I first started, I was hyper fixated on the method of wispy lash extensions and getting it perfect and down to a T. And I was more so following these artists, and they were successful and all these things. And I was like, I want that.
I keep staring at your hair. It looks so good. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
She's just so beautiful.
Thank you. I lost where I was.
Sorry. Squirrel. You were looking at these methods and obsessed with the idea of wispy lashes.
Yeah. And remember, I got so hyper fixated. Yeah. We had this conversation where I got so hyper fixated on the technicality of it.
Yeah.
And the precision and the application and making my work look just like their work, to the point that I almost got to where like I lost my own creativity.
You're not your own artist anymore.
Yeah. I was like emulating these people.
Yeah.
And then it took you like being like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and you cut out.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And you like, so Destiny like created this side-by-side thing where she cut out like a lash, like an eyeball of lashes from somebody else and their Instagram. And then she cut out mine and she put them next to each other and she texted it to me. And she was like, you're insane. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then when I started to notice those things, I was like, oh, I do have my own style. But I still do that now. Hyperfixate on what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. And I think that it's crazy because it's like a double-edged sword. That's why we're good and that's why we grow, but it's also why we hurt ourselves at the same time.
100%. I feel like that's so many things in business.
Yeah.
The things that make you grow are also the things that like hold you back.
Yeah. But I remember I took all these courses and I realized that the way that some of these artists were living their lives and the advice that they gave me on how to run my business, I would sit back and be like, I don't think I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to say that I didn't still respect them or think that they were doing great in their business, and that's fine. But I was like, I don't want that life. Like, I had an artist tell me, I asked her, this is the same artist that you screenshot the stuff of. I was messaging her because I was very invested in this girl's community. I was watching a live video where she was telling you how, if you are a pro lash artist, like an advanced pro lash artist, she was talking about timing, she was talking about isolation, she was talking about all these things. And I feel like it's the same for everything you do. Like, how fast are you at hair? How fast are you at makeup? The same thing, right? Nails, same. But it's like, how good are you at the actual technical skills of it? And then I'd only ever seen this girl do very specific sets. And I got to a point in my business where I was attracting people, but they were not always my ideal client. And that became a pain point for me because I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't enjoy this. I don't feel like I'm good at it. I feel like I'm very confident in wispy lash extensions. And I can do mega volume lashes and they're fine, but that's not really what I want to attract. That's not what I personally enjoy doing. And I asked her, I was like, what do I do if someone comes to me and wants this look? And she said, you do whatever your client wants, period. End of discussion. And then I was like, that's ironic because I don't see that you don't post anything other than wispy lashes. Yeah. And then she just left me on red. And I felt that was a very like real moment for me with developing in the industry because I was like, I called her out low key and she didn't like it. And I know she didn't like it. But at the same time, you could say I don't post those things because that's not my ideal client. And that's why I don't post those things. And I'll still do things that my clients want. Obviously, it's not every set that comes to me isn't like my dream set that I want to create. And at the end of the day, you do what your clients feel the most beautiful with. And that's like our goal at the end of the day. But at the same time, if they're asking me if I'm comfortable doing this, how am I doing service to myself or that client by taking them on when I know that we're both not going to be happy at the end of the day? To me, that's ripping someone off. Personally, I'm like, at that point, it's a money grab. So I had to like really get confident with being clear about stuff like that and realizing that sometimes the people that you look up to and your mentors, like if you just blindly follow what they say, I could have followed what she said and I would have been miserable in my business at this point because I would have attracted all these people that I didn't want to fucking do.
Yeah. And I also think it's important too, like even with that, like even someone that you look up to, like just because you don't have to follow every little thing that they do. Like
you don't.
Like even me and my business coach, we're so different about certain things. Like I'm all about the aesthetic and I feel like for the business that I want to grow, that's important. Like she doesn't.
Right.
We both have very successful businesses. They're just different. Yeah.
And you can still look up to that person. Yeah. You can still be inspired by that person. But you don't have to take everything they say as law.
I think that goes into another thing. Stop looking at like educators or like people better than you as gods.
Yeah. We're all human beings.
We all have different. Yeah.
Opinions are opinions.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Sierra we have different things that we like do. We still run our businesses very similar.
For sure.
But I feel like there's definitely things that we still do that are like different, that we're like, oh, I do this or I do this.
It's just what works for you and your business.
Right.
And I even remember when my mentor at the time when I was first building my business was like, you're so new that you don't get to not answer the phone, is what she said to me.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember when she said that, I was like, I'm building this business I'm watching what you're going through and I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to pay someone to answer phone calls all the time and then talk to these people when with lashes, it's not really an in-depth conversation.
So that brings me to another things I like, not having systems. And that's the thing. It's like we both have created systems where I don't need to have a conversation with you on the phone because everything that you need to know about me and my service is online. And not to say that I won't ever have a conversation with you, but before we even before you even deserve my time, I'm going to be honest, it is what it is. Before you deserve my time, I need to make sure that you're deserving of my time. Most of the questions that people have for you when they're calling, if you have systems in place, such as your website or like resources, they're on there. Mm-hmm. Before I had systems in place, I was on my phone all the time.
People called me at all hours.
And it wasn't even for clients that were necessarily booking.
No, they weren't.
So it's like I'm wasting my time right now having a conversation with you and like you're not even booking.
I got to that point too. And then it got hard for me to show up and actually do the things that
you're
created financial gain in my business or like in my day-to-day life. I was juggling, what, 3? No. Oh my gosh.
10. No, I'm kidding.
I was with, two or 3 brands, plus working in the hair and makeup company, plus starting my lash business. So with 4 to 5 things had my attention. I literally could not answer the phone. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. I just can't.
Plus still having a personal life.
That wasn't there.
Yeah.
It didn't exist.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I pivoted and made a change. But that it all goes back to how do you want your life to look?
Yeah.
And are you going to listen to the people around you who tell you? I also was told that Instagram isn't a legitimate way to build my business.
Yeah. And you're like, I did.
But I did it. So it's if you listen to and a lot of times what I've noticed too, I just heard this quote, is like the people around you, it's not that they don't want to see you grow. And it's not that they don't want your dreams to come true or anything like that. What's best for them is knowing that you're stable. So what their beliefs are.
And that's the thing.
Is like,
that's why you have people
what they
who
put
are coaching on Instagram. You have people who coach on SEO for your website.
Yeah.
You have people who coach on using Facebook.
Because nobody's an expert at everything.
There's right.
Yeah.
What works for you.
Exactly.
Like, who's your ideal client? I was just talking with someone about this. Like we were talking about getting on TikTok. And I'm like, when I was doing hair extensions, like my ideal client is not on TikTok for hair extensions, not for education. But they're not on, because my ideal client is like high 30s and above. Mm-hmm. They're not on TikTok looking for hair extension artists. So it did not make sense for my business at that time to be on TikTok. But it's if I jumped on the trend of going on TikTok, now I just wasted time knowing who your ideal client is,
knowing where
and
to
what
spend
they
your
want,
energy.
And where they are and what they want.
Yeah.
So it's like now I'm taking a little bit more time and energy into making sure my website is good, making sure my Google reviews are good, because that's where my ideal extension client is finding me. Mm-hmm. So it's like knowing that, and it's not necessarily right versus wrong. It's what is your business, who is in your business, and like where are they, and then what do you need? What do they need from you in that time? Yeah. What are some other things that
like where we failed?
For me, like not saying no, like in the beginning, like not saying no, and whether that be no for my time or even no for services. Like I've definitely done services that I knew I shouldn't have freaking done.
I think everybody has.
And then you're like, oh,
I could have just said no.
I should have done that.
What's that song by Taylor Swift? Should have said no.
I can confidently say for me, I haven't messed up a lot of people's hair. Like I really haven't. And I don't say that like cocky wise. But just, I don't think I've fully gone into something I shouldn't have done. But, like, I've definitely done stuff that I was like, I did not enjoy that. Or it took me way too long. Or, like, maybe it wasn't the best of my ability. I'm sure I've fried some people's hair before in the beginning.
My second lash client was a fail. Because I feel like people tell you to pretend that you're more educated than you are. Or you have more experience than you have. And I was listening to mentors and what they were telling me to say and all these things. And I realized that honestly, y'all, at the end of it, I should have just told her, like, this is what the educators told me to do. And I'm new to this. Because then the person's mad at you. Because they think that you have all this experience. And at the end of the day, my educator was like, buy this lash remover, use this on this person, do this. And I did what I was instructed to do. So it's just if you got out of school and they teach you wrong, you're not going to know until you're finally out in the real world or doing it on a person for the first time. I'd never done a lash removal. So I used this product and it burned the out of her eyes. And I was panicking. Like I was literally sweating in every crevice possible. She was like, fidgeting. I felt terrible. I still think about her. This is years later and I feel so bad. But That was a fail.
Yeah.
Like, now I know, okay, I'm not just going to blindly trust my educator that tells me to use something without testing it on myself first.
And that is...
I'm never going to do that again.
That's, like, so, like, our personalities. Because I feel like when I say I haven't done anything crazy on someone, like, again, it's not a cocky thing, but I'm very much...
You don't trust people.
I don't trust anybody.
I know. You don't trust anybody. But I'm like, so I trusted them.
If I learn something, I'm like, I'm going to be doing this. I'm trying this out for a long time before I ever, like, do this.
But
on, like,
that one thing made me the way I am now. Yeah. Where I'm like, I'm not doing anything unless I've done it on myself at least 3 times first. At least. Like, no. I will not. Even if my clients see that I'm doing something new, they'll ask. They'll be like, ooh, your brows look different. Ooh, this looks better. Like, did it? I want you to do that to me. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I remember with you were like, I want bottom lashes. And I was like, no.
I forced you.
And then you were like, do it. But that's my personality versus your personality. Yeah. You'll be like, no, just do it.
Fine.
And I knew I was going to hurt you, but...
I feel like that's different though, too, because I'm your friend. I didn't feel like you would have, like, actually done that on a client. Like, if a client was like, just do it. It's fine. Like, no.
I feel like I'm not doing that.
I was like, it's fine. My eyeball comes out. Just try it.
That was a huge fail.
Yeah.
Don't use shit on people that you have not tried out first yourself. Even if you're an educator. And my education for lashes came from, like, a company that tours all around the world. This girl makes, like, $500 a set. Like, this is a great company. But that lash remover, it's not so great. You know what I mean?
God. It's so funny. Not funny. Funny, but not funny.
No, I feel so bad, y'all. It's the stuff that haunts your nightmares. Or it's like, I'm sorry. If you came to me at the very beginning of my career when I was just learning, I feel like everybody feels like this. It's just let me try again. Just let me show you who I've become now.
Right.
You know, that's where I've also failed myself. Is like not charging my worth when it was there because of self-doubt. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just because you are 100%. New doesn't mean that if you're good and you really do put the work in and research. How long you've
been doing it has
does nothing to do with it.
How much you should be charging.
No. Yeah. And I think that's like a thing in our brains that's like bad because you just got here.
And even other artists.
But I'm like, I went to a lash artist that had been in the game for a decade. She didn't give me what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was giving people what I wanted.
Has nothing to do with how much you should be charging.
And that's not what she specialized in.
That's why I honestly hate like the pricing structures in most commission salons.
Yeah, because it's like, how long have you been here?
Yeah.
Not versus like how talented is this artist?
Yeah.
How much drive and dedication have they put into their craft?
Yes.
Because I was doing nothing. All I did was eat, sleep, and breathe lashes at the beginning.
Yeah.
My YouTube was nothing but eyeballs and eyelashes and how to create wispy sets and all this other stuff. And then after that, I like invested in retention. Oh, that's also where I failed myself is you know where your downfalls are, but then you're afraid to take the leap to invest in yourself when you know that there's someone out there who has proven that they're an expert in that thing. And I was so afraid to take a retention-based course because all these other courses that were on Instagram and YouTube and whatever were like, oh, we don't only teach you this one thing, we teach you everything.
And that's another thing.
And I didn't need help with
sometimes
everything.
You don't need education.
And I didn't.
It's not a technical thing. Yes.
I mean, it was a technical thing.
Sometimes it's not that specific time, but even like that dinged my mind. Like sometimes it's not a technical. Sometimes it's not that you're not good at what you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's either just one small little thing that needs to be tweaked, which is something we were actually talking about, or it's even a business thing. Like it's not that you're not good at doing what you're doing. It's that you're not good at marketing. You're not good at keeping clients. You're not good at
communication with those clients. Yeah. And sometimes clients, like, they don't know. They're not in this industry. Right. And that's where I also failed myself was like, I feel like they're just all coming to me.
All the fails.
But I failed myself with not properly communicating expectations with my clients.
Yes. We assume that our client
understand and know.
Yep.
And it's like also not communicating expectations in a way that your client understands them.
Yes.
And not in a way that's like
technical terms
you need to know.
100%.
Yeah. They don't care.
100%.
They don't know what half these words mean.
100%.
And it's not their job to know that. Yeah. But it is your job to make sure that they understand things. Yeah. And I also learned that just because you learn something.
And then you're mad when your clients come in and, hey, I want a wispy set with a D curl. If your client came in, you'd be like, what the hell? But that's how we're talking to our clients. I'm not saying we, but that's how artists are talking to their clients. Like, you're using all these technical terms, and
And
then you're mad because your clients are coming in and telling you what they need.
Yeah.
But it's,
And I came into...
because they don't understand what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a failed experience with a client, actually, where everybody was like, talk about your experience, be vulnerable, whatever. And I was speaking about where I failed her. But then as I, like, reflect on it...
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. As I reflect...
She got mad. That was a whole different situation.
She was Delulu.
That was a whole different...
She was Delulu.
Yeah.
However, I noticed where I failed myself at the I failed myself at that consultation. And your consultation
accepting that
can make or break the entire client experience.
Yeah.
You have to be so honest with what you can give these people.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes expectations are just not there.
Yeah.
This girl brought me a picture of your eyelashes and your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And ever since this client, it was a learning experience for me. Because I've been like, it's not realistic for you.
And it is.
It's not going to happen.
Every fail is a learning experience, because even if you have a crazy client, you
still have responsibility for that experience.
To have that client in your chair.
Yes.
So whether it was your consultation process wasn't thorough enough, your intake process wasn't thorough enough, you didn't communicate with them the expectation, like, you still...
And I communicated. That's what I learned immediately after her leaving. And that's why she got mad, because I said that on Instagram. But I was like, I need to explain this. If you want to be... If you're at A and you want to get to C, you have to go through B. It's just, that's what happens. And she was so upset that I said that. But I was like...
Look, I see that a lot with hair.
I explained it to you, but I didn't break it down this easily.
I see that a lot with hair. Like, a client brings in a picture, and it's in your head that, say, for example, they're a dark brown. Your client has dark brown hair, but, like, the picture they brought you is a blonde on a level 7.
Yeah.
Like a natural, like a darker blonde. And in your head, that you're going to still give them a level, even if you still give them a level 9 golden highlight, let's say that's the overall look. It's not gonna be
exact.
It's different on dark hair versus light hair.
Yes.
But it's like in our brains, like, we don't communicate, hey, let's... even redirecting them, not just verbally communicating. Hey, let's find someone whose, like, skin tone is more like yours. Whose head or hair is more like yours. Whose density is more like yours. Like, whatever industry you're in. Like, whose eyeballs are more like yours. Whose eye shape is more like yours. I don't know. I'm sure does, like, lid space make a difference?
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many things.
All of that is such a huge
being
difference.
intentional, taking the time to sit down and be intentional and not just, like, rush into the service.
Yeah.
Which is why I love having, for me personally, I love having a pre-consultation. Like, I like having a pre-consultation, and then I like having a consultation. Fill out this form, and then we're going to talk. And then when you come in my chair, I know exactly what you need. Like, gives you time to think about it instead of just on to the next
And I think
one.
that's why a lot of lash artists specifically don't do foreign fills. Like, you see that all over the industry. They'll be like, I do not do foreign fills. And it's because stuff like this happens to them at a foreign fill appointment, where they have this expectation. They love your work online. They see these things, and then they have work existing from someone else, and then they want you to magically make them look like only you have worked on them.
It's
you know
even
what I mean?
like within your own business. If I have someone who wants to be, who's a dimensional blonde, and then they want to be a full-on blonde, it's like that expectation is not the same as someone who came to me with regular virgin hair and wanted to be platinum blonde. Like, there's so much more that goes into it now. So it's even explaining that, hey, you want to be wispy, this is great, but if you ever want to go to a structured lash, it's gonna you're gonna have to remove and redo. Or
and I also feel like I learned where even like small things, like I needed to tweak and change. So like my booking process was working for me great at that point. But when she got here, I didn't feel like we had a lot of time to go through the consultation. So I felt, okay, we're pressed for time. I can go into this and explain it like a bit, but not go into a lot of detail. And then she said she was happy at the end, but I like knew she wasn't. And then it took her going off on me after in DMs to find out she wasn't. But it's, I could tell, girl. Like, I could tell. And it was like, now I know that I will accept a foreign fill, but there are disclaimers before you even come into the studio. And I do not do a foreign fill at a fill based time. And I don't even just extend it by 3 hours. A foreign fill is a foreign fill. But I block a full set amount of time so that I can have that in-depth, thorough consultation with them. And we
even
can
give you time.
And
to
I
think
need
about
to
what
think,
you want to.
Yes, because you don't know what's coming in, which I feel like with hair, you never know what's coming in. With lashes, you don't always know exactly, but like a lash line is a lash line.
You see it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's under the hair.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with hair, she
Yeah.
could just lie to you.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I was in the chair.
Or
Like,
not
people would
even
be
know.
like,
Like, I've even had where they don't think they ever have permanent color on their head, but like their stylist has been root smudging them with permanent color. Like,
yes,
you know,
that happens.
yeah, like you don't know what goes on.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
you have to figure it all out.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, regardless of like what doesn't work for your business, it's not about what doesn't work for your business. It's like, how are you going to take what didn't work for your career and turn it around to the positive?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, this didn't work. Okay, this didn't work. What will? Or
and not letting that
work.
diminish you.
Mm-hmm.
With
because it's going to happen. You're going to fail.
You're going
to fail.
Yeah.
You have to. You're never going to grow if you don't fail.
Yeah.
Failing is not this like whole negative like concept. Like it's actually a very important part of growing,
learning
as a person.
We would never walk as people
if you didn't fall down.
Just gave up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Bye. That's what I have.
Join the conversation and let your voice be heard.
If you're ready for a revolution, don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening.
Share this episode with your BB who is ready to beautify the beauty industry and rewrite the standards.
Get all the tea from this episode and more in the show notes. Bye.